If I thought the next days would be strange after Monty's confession, well, I was right, of course. Monty did his best to pretend nothing out of the ordinary happened, but now every time I caught him glancing at me from his desk in the classroom, I knew perfectly well the kind of thoughts that was went through his mind. I still made me feel puzzled. When we were together with Rick or with Damien, thought everything was fine and I could forget that Monty felt anything for me apart from the kind of fondness one gets with friends. I tried not to overthink about it when I was alone, at night on my bed or while spacing out in the study room, but the thought always ended nagging me. I realized there are things that once said are impossible to ignore. It's no use, our Alice in Wonderland again. I came back from my reverie. The dining hall usually loud noises of clattering cutlery and plates and of hundreds of people chattering at the same time made me realize I had really spaced out. Monty, Rick and Damien chuckled at my surprised face. What had Monty just said? Was he talking about me? So, Monty was right and you weren't listening. Good to know. I shouldn't have bothered in asking that maid about our suspect again. Hold on. Sorry, I'm really sorry. What are you saying? Blushing angrily, I focused on Damien's amused face. I said last night I met her in the kitchen again, and I took the chance to approach her and talk with her for a short while. Well, I should better say talk to her, because she's not really the talkative type, but even so. Did you find out anything else about that Mark guy? Oh yes. He leaned forward on the table and offered me a Cheshire's cat smile. Mark left the school the morning after we asked about him, without any explanation. He just vanished. Rick frowned. But he was ill, isn't it? Perhaps his condition worsened and he preferred to come back with his family, so they took care of him. It could be the case, yes. I must consent that, but the way he did it was very suspicious. All the servants are talking about that. He didn't fetch for the doctor in town while he was sick. Nobody saw him leaving, not to mention doing it so suddenly right after we asked about him. What do you think then? It can't be a coincidence, is it? Damien leaned back on his chair again with a satisfied grin. You can believe that if you want, of course, but remember, I told you that maid was lying. I think this confirms my suspicions. We hummed thoughtful. I didn't like that at all. Damien made it look like a huge conspiracy about me, and honestly, that didn't make any sense. Why would anyone want to hurt me? What for? I glanced at Monty, suddenly remembering his furious face the other day at the gym. It was the only time that someone had been so angry with me in years. Not even my parents or my siblings scolded me like that since I was a kid. But Monty wouldn't ask someone to hurt me, would he? Not with the way he felt about me. There was so much concern in Monty's face right then that I felt ashamed of my doubts. How could I even consider that? No one of my friends would ever think of hurting me, but especially not Monty. I was tempted of reaching for his hand and holding it just to comfort him. I wanted that word crease between his eyebrows gone. It didn't belong there. But of course, I refrained. We are in the dining hall and in front of our friends. It wouldn't have been proper. Monty would do it without hesitance, or even Damien, but it wasn't as touchy-feely as them, so Rick and Damien would suspect something was off I did. So I just smiled and tried to convince my friends that everything was alright, changing topics quickly. I wasn't sure about if they had bought my false reassurance or not, but one thing was certain. I wished I felt as at ease as pretended. However, things had a way of turning into normalcy and finally into boredom, and the days and the weeks passed by and nothing out of the ordinary happened. I was busy either way. We were taking our midterm tests and I was still struggling in almost all our subjects. Monty pulled a face every time Rick and I headed to the study room without him. The days he had cricket practice and couldn't join us, but as much as I didn't want to hurt him or make him angry. I couldn't pass the chance of having Rick explaining patient to me every exercise. I really needed his help, or I was going to fail miserably. And how was I to face my parents if I didn't achieve decent grades at the end of the year? That thought gave me shivers and left me enduring my long and boring hours at the study room. I had been locked in the study room for hours and my head ached. Rick suggested me to take a break and relax for a while when he noticed I couldn't understand a single math formula more, no matter how many times he tried to explain. In my bedroom, Damien was hanging out with some classmates and I wasn't in the mood of joining them, so I decided a stroll would be the best option right then. I had started to rain while I was in the study room, and the view from the window was windy and already dark, despite of the hour. We were already in the middle of autumn, and the days were shorter every day. I sided with my forehead against the window when the voice at my back surprised me. "Alex, hey!" I turned. Monty approached me with a big smile. He was supposed to have cricket practice, but he was already changed back into his school uniform. "Hello, you had to cut practice because of the downpour, right?" "Yes, we trained a bit at the gym, but it's not the same, so the captain let us go after a while. And you? Tired of studying already?" I rubbed my brow, sighing. Please don't scold me. So far my grades on the midterms are being rather awful, but there's still math the day after tomorrow. I hope to pass that one. It's just that my brain is so full of formulas that I don't think there's space for a single one more. He snorted. Of course, even with the cricket training, I knew he was doing well at the midterms. He didn't have brilliant grades as Rick or Damien, but I still would gladly trade. A break now and then is good too, you know? He made a pause, watching me with intent. "In fact, I was going to look for you." "Really?" "Yeah, care if I join you for a stroll?" I shrugged, blushing, and we started to walk without a clear destination through the labyrinth of corridors and stairs. Things were almost back to normal between us by then, but still, when I was with Monty, I didn't feel the same way as when I was with Rick or with other friends. I followed him until we were out of the area I more or less knew by then. He kept explaining me what was in each corridor, and I tried to remember it and draw the floor plans in my hand. "Are you sure you will know how to go back afterwards?" Monty laughed at this. "I've been living here for 5 years. Relax, I know St. Michael's better than my own home." That made sense, yes. "Alex, I wanted to ask you if you have thought about what I told you that day in the gym." His face was flushed and very serious, and I couldn't tell if he was feeling hopeful or scared. Both, perhaps? As for myself, oh yes, I have thought about that an awful lot. "And have you reached any conclusion?" I avoided his eyes and leaned back against the wall. My heart was pounding so hard that I couldn't barely breathe. Would you mind leaving me alone for, say, 5 minutes? I promise you I will give you an answer after that." Monty looked away, his features a mask of sadness. "Sure." He turned his back on me and started walking, slowly. I watched him leave, and then I sighed loudly and sat on the closest stairs. Suddenly there was a hand on my mouth and a strong arm pulling me down. I struggled, trying to get on my feet and free myself from those arms, but my attacker was stronger, and I was pushed downstairs. This time he wasn't wearing any mask. I noticed why my blood pounded madly on my templates. Was it the same man? The mouth that I still remember vividly didn't seem the same. In the short moment he took between throwing me onto my back and dropping to his knees to reach for my throat, I cried out for help. But he was fast, and I'd only go to hell a half-formed word before he took all the air out of my lungs with a knee on my chest and his strong and big hands pressing hard on my neck. I hissed in pain. The stains were digging on my bed, and the way he pressed himself against my body made me think that my spine would break in half if I didn't push him off soon. The pain was quickly forgotten, as my main problem was suddenly the increasing lack of oxygen going into my lungs. He had my upper body immobilized, but I still tried to kick him or warm him away from under him. It wasn't working so far, I noticed with panic. I was going to die with those cruel dark eyes as my last sight. "Hey! Let him go!" The voice seemed to come from afar. My senses were muffled and my conscience was drifting away. But then the pressure on my throat and chest landed and vanished. My clogged mind processed the fact that the man had stood up and I was free again. I could almost cry from relief. Monty's face appeared on my view, concerned, alarmed, angry. "Alex, God, your lips are blue. Come on, sit up and breathe deeply," I called. "Monty, the man, he will escape." I had trouble finding my voice right then, but there was no way I was going to let my attacker run away again. Without a word, Monty grabbed my hand, helped me to my feet, and dragged me with him up the stairs. I still had a hard time breathing, but I did my best at following Monty's pace. My friend watched the man through the staircase hollow. "He's up there, in the 3rd floor!" I groaned. Not the damn 3rd floor. It was as dark as I remembered. The abandoned 3rd floor was only a wing wide, and it was basically a set of corridors interconnected by short stairs or wooden ramps, empty rooms with some ruined furniture, and right then also huge puddles flooding the floor. Hand in hand, we walked slowly, trying to hear the man, his steps, his breath, something. So far, only the rain welcomed our ears. The roof was cracked in some spots, and there were some windows broken, so somehow it felt as if we were out in the open. The sound of the rain and the thunder covered any other sound that the man could make, sadly. We waited a good 10 minutes, trying to be quiet and silent. I started to think that our man had scurried away by another corridor. "Are you all right?" Monty's voice reached me in soft whispers. "I'm not afraid of dark, I told you." He chuckled. I could see his smile in my mind. "I still regret this prank. It was nice at all. I'm very sorry." "You say that now, but I bet you had fun seeing me so frightened." "No, I swear." "It's alright. I reacted like a little kid. I could have punched myself in the face, so ashamed I was afterwards." He smiled again. I didn't even need to see him to know his reactions. And you are certainly good at telling stories, you know. I still remember your voice in the dark, your hand in mine." He squeezed my fingers. "Like now?" "Yes, it's a good feeling." I leaned in, following the direction of his voice, and found his lips easily, exciting, and gasped. I reached for his face with my free hand and stroked his cheek and his hair. The two of us opened our mouth at the same time, eager for more, and our tongues met and played with each other. I licked the corners of his mouth, feeling daring for once in my life, before he came back for more and engulfed my whole mouth with his. His warmth shrouded me like a cape, and was a really pleasant feeling. And right then, we noticed a sudden air movement at our back, making us jump in surprise and let go of each other. We rushed to follow our lead, but when we reached the staircase, we couldn't see anybody. "Our man should be here, running downstairs. Where is he?" I shook my head, frowning in frustration. "Perhaps there's another door, another exit that we don't know about. We should come back with daylight and explore this floor further." Monty took my hand again and came closer with a shy smile dancing on his lips. "Does this mean—" I smiled widely at him, blushing a little. "Yes, the answer is yes." He hugged me tightly and laughed in my ear. I chuckled too, suddenly relieved despite the recent events. Our mouths touched each other's, and we kissed again for a while. I felt completely happy. At least, I thought, one of my main concerns was solved right then. After that near-death experience, all I wanted was feeling alive, and Monty's kisses were so sweet, and it felt so good being by his side. I was glad to have made up my mind that was the right choice. We updated our roommates about the events of the evening during dinner time. Well, not about all the events, of course. They were horrified about the attack and started speaking at the same time. You see how it wasn't any damn coincidence. I was right. They have dared to attack you again, and inside the building, and without a mask? Yes, this time I got to see his face, although I think it's not the same man that last time. Damien frowned thoughtful. Does it mean there's a group of people trying to finish you and that they can enter the building when they say fit? Well, perhaps they just want to frighten me and make me leave the school, but that doesn't make sense either, right? Frighten you with the butcher's knives? Alex, they are really trying to kill you. And why exactly are we sitting in the dining hall having dinner instead of being at the police station in town? I felt uncomfortable, but I knew I owed them an explanation. If I do that, the first thing my parents will do would be forcing me to go back home. So, it's the normal thing to do. I don't think I would stay here if someone was planning murder on me. I think I get it. We all looked at Rick. I felt rather stupid trying to explain myself. It all sounded as a spoiled brat resonating to my ears, and I was afraid my new friends would mock me or even get angry at me when I told them. Alex wanted to stay in St. Michael's, no matter what. Going back now would be like admitting defeat, right? I nodded, relieved. I couldn't believe he understood me so well. Alex, I would be really sad if you had to go back to your village, but your safety should be first. I smiled fondly at him. But do you understand that I'd rather stay here until the end of the year, with you guys? He nodded and smiled back at me. I really wanted to kiss him right then and there. Damien made us come back to reality with a dramatic sigh, leaning back on his chair and studying me through squinted eyes. So, little bird, what do you suggest it would be the best course of acting now? I fisted my hands and tried to sound as determined as I felt. I want to gather evidence about those men. I won't go to the police empty-handed. I want to show my parents that I can take care of myself, with a little help, of course. I studied their faces in a tactic request of help, and the three of them nodded, Monty and Rick eagerly, Damien after a moment, somewhat hesitant. The first thing is avoiding being on your own. The 3 times they have attacked you, it was when you were wandering alone. That's right, no more strolls on your own, please. We will be with you all the time. Until all this is solved. I don't like it, but I guess it can't be helped. I'm almost all the time doing things with you guys anyway. They clashed with my desire of feeling independent and grown up, but I would have to give up some freedom if I wanted this to work, so I shrugged and smiled at them. Damien, do you know if there's any additional exit in the 3rd floor, one part from the main stairs? He shook his head at once. Not that I know. The corridors go more or less in circles, and there's a landing and the stairs. You can't go up there any other way. I bit my lower lip, thinking. I want to go there tomorrow after the lessons, when there is still daylight, and try to find how the attacker managed to vanish without using the main stairs. Good idea! But Alex, the math exam is the day after tomorrow. You should spend the afternoon revising. I know, I tried to do it quickly. It shouldn't take me the whole afternoon. Then it's decided we'll go up there after class. Hold on, it's not necessary that the four of us go there and take a look. Alex and I will be enough, right, Alex? I blinked, surprised. That's true. We will meet later at the study room, Rick. Damien hummed and crossed his arms, but said nothing. The place, at least for my taste, didn't improve a bit with daylight. The walls were ruined by dampness, with the painting and wallpapers falling down to pieces onto the floor. We could see the sky through the roof now and there were piles of working materials in some corners of the corridor. They are currently repairing the roof since it was damaged last year by a snowstorm, but I can't hear the man working today. It must be too wet to work on it after yesterday's downpour. I nodded. The rain had stopped some moment during the night, but there were still puddles underneath the damaged roof. The sky was ashen grey, so it wouldn't be strange if it started raining again. All in all, I thought to myself while wandering by those abandoned rooms, this place is pretty depressing. I don't like this part of the school. It makes me feel uncomfortable, as if it doesn't want us to be here. Monty chuckled and tousled my hair. It was just a tale, Alex. Relax. This place is just empty and decayed. That's why you don't like it. This is the main corridor. I think this is where we were last afternoon. I looked around us. The floor was dry and I did remember some puddles, but perhaps the workers had cleaned them. The ground was also quite clean of debris. Monty started touching what was left of the wooden panels on the walls, searching for a hidden door. I did the same on the opposite wall. Monty, say, Why didn't you want the others to come with us? We would have covered all the walls faster. Does it bother you? I'm sorry, it seemed a good excuse to spend some alone time with you. Oh. My cheeks felt suddenly warm, but I reacted quickly and smiled at Monty. It's alright then, I didn't think of that. You didn't? So you didn't want to kiss me again? He came closer with a naughty smile spreading through his face, and I opened my arms to meet him in an embrace. His lips were cold, but his mouth tasted of tea and warmth. I realized I was as eager as him. The place was not the one I would have chosen to spend some quality time with Monty, but it would make do. We let our hands wander over our clothed bodies, and soon his back was resting against the wall, and my mind started to feel sweetly numb. Monty's hands slithered under my shirt tails and found the bare skin of my back. I shuddered excited. Feeling adventurous, I loosened his tie and undid the first 2 buttons of his shirt, freeing his clavicles. I licked his Adam's apple and the base of his neck, getting more turned on by the minute. Yes, bit me there. I did as he asked, putting him softly on the side of his neck and tracing a tiny round of vines up to his ear. The flesh felt tender and delicious, and I had to refrain myself to avoid biting hard, or I would end up hurting him. He moaned loudly when I reached his earlobe. Panting, I buckled my hips against his, pressing my half-hard dick against his groin. Oh, Alex! He reached for my mouth again, his finger digging against my hip bones. Our tongues intertwined, and then I could feel him exploring every nook of my mouth. It was so delicious that I didn't mind the way our salvia was dribbling down our chins. But in that very moment, I felt an unexpected air current against the small of my back. All the skin on my back turned into goosebumps. I let go of Monty at once. He looked at me through half-lidded eyes. His neck, his chin and all the area around his mouth were red and wet from kisses. Alex? I suddenly felt watched, as if 100 eyes were set on me, uncomfortable. I took Monty's hands in mine. Sorry, Monty, could we go now? Oh, go? You mean you want to keep searching for the hidden door? In fact, I was 1 second away of start running to the main stairs, but I gulped and counted 3 in my head, trying to calm down. We had come to that damn place to do something. Yes, let's do that. He looked disappointed, of course, but nodded and tidied up his clothes. A pang of regret made me add, We can follow later, okay? I'm sure we can find a better place. Monty smiled, already focused on the walls. That's for sure. Why did you stop so suddenly, Thor? Do you think we are going too fast? Did I? In fact, I was perfectly happy with touching Monty and letting him touch me a bit more, and felt really good. No, it's not that. It's just that I don't like this place. I know it's only me being so suggestible, but I felt as if we were being watched. It gave me the chills. He raised an eyebrow in disbelief. That story really had no effect on you, I see. Do you still feel watched now? I studied our surroundings, and I nodded wearily. He looked around then, visibly uneasy. Do you think that man is hiding here? Oh my god, I hadn't thought of that. It was a possibility, right? But we still haven't found any trace of personal belongings or remains of someone's living or sleeping here. That's right, and the workers are here most days. They would have seen it if someone homeless had sneaked in. We hummed in agreement, but had no answers to our questions. We searched for some time more, but with no success. If there was a hidden room somewhere, we weren't able to find it. So we joined Rick and Damien in the study room about an hour later, admitting defeat. There goes our lead, even though I liked the idea of the attacker hiding in the 3rd floor. But there weren't any clothes or vents or anything. What about a bonfire or a fireplace, showing traces of having been lit recently? Monty and I glanced at each other. Rick always had the best ideas. I knew we should have taken him there. The ground was black from fire in a spot of the biggest room, yes, but it could have been the workers to warm up before climbing the roof. Rick nodded thoughtful. We can't rule out that our attackers is one of the new servants yet. Not with Mark, and that made acting so suspicious. Any suggestions? Yes, you should come to the kitchen with me this Sunday for the weekly poker match. Almost all the servants will be there. This time you have to see the face of your attackers, so you could recognize him if he comes. Of course, it was really my best chance. Oh yes, I will do that. Thank you, Damien. Hold on, wouldn't that be too risky? We are talking about a murderer, remember? And he isn't alone, or so it seems. We don't know how he will react. Come on, Monty. What can he do in front of all the other servants? As much he can try to run away, although I don't think we would succeed in that. I smiled widely, full of hope. We will have him for real, and then we will be rid of this problem forever. Yes, it's our best option. But we all looked at him. Monty fisted his hands, but couldn't find any other objection. I patted his back and tried to convey how hopeful I felt through my smile. Don't worry, perhaps that man isn't there, but if he is, everything will be alright. He still didn't look at ease and avoided my eyes, but nodded and let the topic go. We tried to focus on our upcoming math exams for the rest of the evening. As we agreed, I found myself following Damien downstairs to the kitchen again the next Sunday. Monty was spending the day out with his uncle and cousins, who lived in a small town nearby. He didn't speak to me that morning and left in a bad mood. However, I was too excited by the prospect of unmasking my attacker to worry too much about Monty right then. Alright, little bird, listen to me carefully. In order to be allowed there during the match, you must play poker with us. Huh? I barely remember the rules. I had played poker perhaps twice or thrice with my elder brothers, and it was long ago. Don't fret about the money. I'll lend it to you, and after the match you give it back to me. Whatever you haven't managed to lose. Don't get carried away and bet too much thought. Oh, sure. Thank you very much, Damien. And it would be better if you don't open your mouth much. So just nod to whatever I say and follow my indications. We don't want you to draw too much attention. I nodded. We are already in front of the kitchen door. Hold on, are you going to ask me something in exchange this time? He turned to look at me with a suggestive raise of his eyebrow. Are you willing to pay something in exchange? I'm all ears. I was suddenly aware of how close we were in the narrow landing, and I couldn't help but blush, avoiding his eyes. No, that's not what I meant. Ah, I guessed that much. What a disappointment. You will owe me one. Sure. Relief washed down my whole body like a shower. I'm glad you agree, so don't complain whenever I ask for my treat. Treat? What the hell? I couldn't finish my thought. The door was pushed open and there we went. The huge poorly lit kitchen was bubbling with people. Damien put on his diplomatic persona and started greeting everybody with a wide smile, sharing a few words with each other. I was amazed he could change so quickly from the witty and aloof guy I knew to that easygoing, extroverted public relations. I envied that skill from the depths of my heart. Since I was just my usual shy self, I resorted to glue my back against a wall and study the faces around me, trying to find someone familiar. Connie was there, talking lively with another maid, but they were the only woman present in the kitchen. There were two men that I assumed were teachers, according to their clothes. They cast a quick glance at my direction and nodded to me as only greeting. They didn't teach to my class, what a relief. For a moment I thought they would throw me out. I guess being in a senior group and, besides, coming as Damien's friend has its benefits. There was also Max, a grumpy servant I already knew, and all the rest were unknown faces. The man who attacked me didn't seem to be here. Damien grabbed my forearm and made me sit by his side at the table by explaining the general rules for betting aloud. Then he shuffled the cards, winked at me in a reassuring way, and the game started. There were 8 of us playing at the table, and all the rest sat around, watching us while smoking and commenting loudly. Soon a thick cloud of smoke hanged underneath the kitchen ceiling. I tried to focus on a game, going through the basic rules in my head, and at the same time to keep an eye on the faces and names in front of me. Around the table, apart from Damien, the 2 teachers, and Max, there were 3 other servants I hadn't met before. One of them was a guy slightly older than us, perhaps 18 years old, with curly blonde hair and an unkempt beard. His name was Jack, and he seemed a cheerful guy, telling bad taste jokes when he wasn't fully focused on the game. Martin was another one, around 30, but already balding, sur-faced and silent. He didn't seem to enjoy in the slightest Jack's stupid jokes. And the third one was old Billy. Surprisingly, he was a footman. All the other footmen were teenagers, but that old Billy, or Billy Bowl as he was also known, was an old man or more than 60. He had a youthful face and an eternal sweet smile, so I suppose that was the origin of his nickname. After a while, his lack of wit also explained why he was working as a footman. He wasn't fit for any other task. The onlookers, to my dismay, came and went all throughout the poker game, so I didn't have to change to check their names or what work they did at the school. Sighing, I felt defeated once again. The best I could do right then was trying to keep my facade as a card player and ask Damien about all those people afterwards. Those men were clearly experienced players, though in the end they had fun picking me clean and watching my surprised face every time they managed to trick me. I was afraid Damien would be mad at me. I was losing all the money he had lent to me after all, but in spite of that I caught him laughing at me with the others more than once. Fine. Deeply embarrassing, but fine. It was really the longest afternoon in my whole life.